Look at us, just friends celebrating a Cowboys victory. It's the one-star Cowboys.
Yes.
Podcast. Kevin Turner. We have Jon Machota live in Cleveland, and we have Kent Garrison back at the home base on the west side of the Metroplex as well. Start out with you, John. First of all, where are you at right now?
I'm in the visiting radio booth. So, like, right behind me is the field. I don't know if you guys can see that at all.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So, we had some nice people that work here that were willing to put the windows back in so that I'm not getting the out. The airport's very close to here. And so you just are hearing one flight take off after another. So they put the glass back in, so it should be a little bit better. But yeah, up in this, my first time here. I only got, I have 2 stadiums left I have not been to, and that is Cincinnati and Baltimore. So, yeah, so knock this one off the list.
Huntington Bank Field. That was pretty good. That's about as good as you could hope for a week 1 game, huh?
It really was. And now I know you can draw comparisons, I guess, to last year's opener. And when we were sitting in the press box as the game was going on, Saad, Yusuf, and I were talking about the whole, it kind of reminds you a little bit of last year's opener, but there's a big difference between the Giants and where this Cleveland Browns team is, particularly here in Cleveland, the way that they played. I did not think that, heck, I picked the Browns to win 20-17. I thought the Browns were going to be a much better team at home. And the way the game started, whether you talk about offense, defense, whatever, I was like, oh no, the Cowboys are going to be in it throughout this entire game. And I don't know if it was just Deshaun Watson being bad, or certainly the fans felt that way with how he was getting booed. But then also it's like the Cowboys defense, man, it is a really good defense. Not that we should be surprised by that, but that was huge. And the other part was the special teams. I mean, Kevontae Turpin finally bringing that kick back. I mean, he's been so due to bring back a big kick for a touchdown. He did on that punt return right as the second half starts. I mean, that's such a big momentum getter for them. But then also just, it is such a weapon to know, oh, no, just get past the 50 and you're within Aubrey's range. It doesn't matter if you're outside by the lake or you're over in AT&T Stadium. And so obviously the big storyline coming in was Dak. We'll talk about that. But it's not like they won this game and were dominant because Dak was amazing and CD was amazing. I mean, Dak even said after the game that he didn't think he played that well. And so there were good things in offense. I'm not trying to say that there weren't, but this was one, and it was dominated because of the defense and special teams.
Oh, yeah. They couldn't move the ball at all, Cleveland, for a good portion of the game. And when we saw 90 minutes before the game started, pretty much kind of a few minutes after it was announced that, Dak got his contract done, that Jack Conklin wasn't going to play for them. And you could just kind of hear the panic from, Cleveland Browns fans. You scroll social media from, oh my God, James Hudson's going to start at left tackle. It was like, it kind of felt like they knew they didn't have much of a chance based on what they were running out there on their offensive line. Man, one thing that jumped out to me in the first half when you're talking about the defense, Overshown, Kendricks, Kalen Carson, like guys who were not able to help you or on the team last year, making a difference this year. That's something that you can really look towards and go, well, there's some building blocks right there. So that's something that was really exciting on my end.
I will say when I look at the Overshown, really jumped out to me because we've seen the athleticism, we've seen the speed at training camp, but you don't really know until the games start. What are you going to see? And one of my big takeaways from the game was there was a lot of talk, throughout camp and even this past week about the Cowboys depth chart and how Maris Leafau is ahead of DeMarvion Overshown on the depth chart. And I'm just like, yeah, maybe it's for that position or whatever, but DeMarvion Overshown is going to be on the field a lot. I mean, his athleticism, plus then when he gets the experience behind that, I mean, he is a weapon. And so then you have him with Kendricks. I mean, today might have been the best day for the linebackers since that one day back in, I can't remember the year, when literally Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch looked like they were going to be like this, I think because it was against Houston, I believe it was, where you're just like, wow, they really found something there. That's the way Kendricks and Overshown looked today, where you were like, wow. And here's the other part about it. The Cowboys finished with 6 sacks. They could have had 10. There were so many times that, Deshaun Watson obviously didn't play well throwing the football, but there's so many times that even Micah Parsons was talking about after the game, how he can get out of trouble and get out of things and make stuff happen because he is pretty elusive. But there were just multiple times that guys could have had sacks that they didn't finish it with. And I mean, still to have 6 and, obviously take the ball the way they did. I really don't think that if you're Mike Zimmer, you could ask for a better start to your defensive coordinator time with the Dallas Cowboys.
And that goes back to also the way the game started too. And the Cowboys were like crowd noise, penalties, things like that. But then that second drive, CeeDee Lamb kind of takes over that drive a little bit, and it ends with a touchdown pass to Brandon Cooks. Like that was a great throw, and that was a good design. I thought Mike McCarthy did a great job of. I guess I was play calling it throughout the whole game. I'm not going to say that, but what the game needed to do in the first half, they adjusted very quickly, got the ball out, and kind of changed the scope of that game. And then getting ahead, just allowing the defense to do what they do the entire game. I mean, I felt really good about the Cowboys winning this game the whole time, especially when the Jack Conklin news hit. That really changed it a lot for me. But I thought McCarthy should get a lot of credit for that. And then I will not spend time talking about what happened right before the first half. We're not going to have bad vibes today, but you can talk about it if you want.
No, well, first of all, you obviously have a weapon in Aubrey that if you're even trying that stuff outside, that surprised me a little bit. But yeah, you really can't have a delay a game right before you're about to try and kick a 66-yard field goal, and then the 66-yard field goal goes in. And so that's not great. But I will say at that point, I really didn't think that was going to be some play where the game came down to that or anything like that. I clearly thought the Cowboys were a better team. And so because of that, I'm not going to really hammer home anything either one way or the other there. I will say one thing early on that really stood out to me was that rapport with Dak and CD. And in one thing in particular, obviously them throwing down the field, they seem to be on the same page and or at least more so than maybe I was expecting for CD not being at all camp. But when they were running those jet sweeps and they were running those handoffs to CD, the timing on them was phenomenal. And I thought plays like that, which we've obviously seen from CD and the Cowboys in the past, I thought those plays would take a little bit longer to kind of get on the same page just because they haven't been CD hasn't been around for the last, for the better part of the last month and a half. So I thought that whole thing, I thought that all of that kind of clicked. The Dak kind of fadeaway pass to Brandon Cooks, where when Dak throws that thing, Cooks is nowhere near as open as he is when that ball is in the air. You can just tell the timing is getting there with those guys. Jake Ferguson goes down in the second half, but from everything that we heard after, he was moving around pretty well. He's going to have tests, tomorrow to see the severity of it. Maybe he misses some games, but it doesn't sound like they feel like it'll be some type of a season ending type thing. Seems like kind of almost like when Green Bay, there was some initial thoughts that maybe Jordan Love was lost for the season. And then, it comes out that that's not the case at all. Maybe he misses 3-4 games. Maybe that is with the Ferguson. We don't really know, but it is a knee. He obviously went to the locker room. He didn't come back into the game. But Mike McCarthy and Dak both said from talking to Jake after the game, they had good vibes and everything sounded like, hey, this isn't, I think that Dak put it as we dodged a bullet along those lines. So they should be good there. So, I mean, you look at that offense, if you can get that running game to look anywhere close to what it looked today throughout the season, they will be fine. Because I'm just going to be honest with you. I've been surprised three different times today. One, obviously, number one by far is the Dak deal getting done. I just didn't think that was going to happen. I did not think the Cowboys would win this game. And I did not think that Ezekiel Elliott would have the success that he had today. And so those are all very, very good signs for this Dallas Cowboys team, not just today, but going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, let's transition to the running game for a minute. I want to close out one thought on CeeDee Lamb real quick. 5 catches for looks like 61 yards, his final line. And then he had the 3 carries, like you said, getting him involved. If they needed him to have 10 catches, I think he could have had 10 catches today.
For sure.
There was a preseason element to this game at some point, But listen, comment right there in the comments here on from Jesse. Zeke looked better than I thought he would in very small doses. Absolutely. And 10 carries, 40 yards for Zeke. I think
KT, he came out the gate trying to jump over people.
Dude, which is a stark contrast to the last time we saw him in a Cowboys uniform. And then there was a catch too that he made where he juked a dude out of his shoes, and I thought that was kind of a good Zeke highlight. We saw Zeke do the "feed me" sign again today.
True.
It's back. Rico got a lot of got 8 carries for 26 yards. Look, I don't know how good this team is going to be right out of the gate here. In terms of run blocking. I mean, with BB playing center for the first time, getting Guyton, acclimated and all that stuff. And clearly this is not a normal first game when Myles Garrett is on the other side and so much of your attention is on him. But I do agree, like, hey, if that week 1 Zeke we got is what we're getting for 17 weeks, and history kind of tells me that's probably not what we're going to get. But if you can get that, then I'll take back all the things I've said, because that was fine. That was fine.
Well, what about, how do you feel then that, okay, so you get a little bit of that Zeke, you get the Rico Dowdle, and then maybe Dalvin Cook has got some tread left on the tire that some people are maybe counting out right now too. So I just think it's going to be this kind of several guys. I don't see it being every single week one guy doing it. I think it's going to be multiple guys getting the job done. But the thing I go back to is I think the passing game gets better the more the season goes along. And so I don't think the passing game was anywhere close to as good as it can be. And that's their bread and butter. They have a very good defense. That is very apparent. My only question marks on the defense is literally just, can they stay healthy? If that group stays healthy, they have playmakers, no question about it, on all 3 levels. This is going to be, and then Mike Zimmer, obviously one of the best defensive coaches in the game. That defense will be fine. The special teams will be fine. I think the passing game will be fine. So the only questions I really have is really them being able to run the ball as well as they did, particularly in the first half today. If they keep that up, then this is a really good team.
No, absolutely, it is. A few people asking in the comments about the Ferguson thing. People may be getting in here late, and John just kind of covered that. But we do have an MRI tomorrow. Does not appear to be a season-ending, type of thing. It feels like it's probably I can say minor injury. But John covered that. Listen to the podcast if you missed that and want to hear what he said about it just a few minutes ago. Let's talk about it then, because the game, like I said, quite frankly, was boring. Once you get to the second half, it kind of was. That comes down this morning. 4 years, 200. And oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the $260 million. And we are gonna wait. Did I get that right? No, 4 years, $240 million.
240, yeah, 60 a year.
Did we get the guaranteed number? Because I've seen it being reported as 213 guaranteed and 231 guaranteed. It's been reported 2 different numbers.
I don't have it in front of me right now, but whatever one would set it as he exceeded Deshaun Watson's guarantees.
Yeah. Your thoughts when that went down this morning?
So I stayed up pretty late last night just because there was, a lot of college football I was interested in watching, and our time difference here. And so I think I went to bed around 1:30, maybe 2:00 Eastern, but I set my alarm for 7:30 this morning just because I was like, I know that there's talks going on. The Cowboys are notorious for deadlines, make deals. Let me just make sure that I'm up just in case that, whatever. And it was funny because my brother called me and we were talking. He's like, "Why? I'm surprised you're up this early." And I was like, "Yeah, you just never know, because just with the way the Cowboys are, I don't think that something's going to eventually get done this right now. I think it's going to take a little bit longer, but it is the Cowboys, man. It is Jerry Jones or whatever." And lo and behold, a couple hours after that phone call with my brother, that, Ian Rappaport, I think, was the one that broke the story. And then so you just go into mode of, tweeting, texting, getting stuff confirmed. And it was just a wild, not just with the Dak thing. You got that Tyreek Hill being detained by the police outside of the Dolphin Stadium. You had the whole Jamar Chase. Is he going to play? Isn't he going to play? This was a wild day in the NFL before really any games even kicked off. But yeah, the Dak one is such a big deal because it's not just about Dak. It's the rest of the league too. He just reset the market for the highest paid player in the league. And I guess my biggest takeaway right when it happened was we really have no idea what Jerry was talking about all in now, because at first we thought all in would be making a bunch of moves during free agency or trades, which didn't happen. And then he tried to say it as in, well, my definition is different than yours, as in I'm all in on this season. So making it suggesting, hey, we're not going to get Dak done after this year or before the season. We're not going to do McCarthy, and that we're all in on this year because I need to see more. And if we see what we need to see, then we will handle these contracts in the offseason. And so all of that all-in stuff didn't matter at all because both ways, he totally ruled it out because you're not all in on this season. You're not anymore. Dak's here, CD's here. They're not going anywhere. You're not making any major changes in the offseason now. When you have almost $100 million tied up per season in those two key players, there's no rebuild. There's no massive changes going on. There's no all in on this season. And so I think what happened is I think that Jerry, whether it's people around him or on his own, realized, you know what, we would be in such a hole if we moved on from him. We can't even risk that. We have to get this thing done, and let's get it done before the season starts. Let's put this away. Let's not allow this to be a distraction. And they got it done. And I don't know how many times that, Jerry has gotten, or someone has gotten the better of Jerry in the business world. Probably not often because he's obviously extremely successful. But with Todd France, Dak's agent, these are two contracts now were in a row that and it's funny too because Dak said after the game that I think he used the words met in the middle. It's like, okay, technically Dak probably could have got a little bit more if he was pushing it right, but I mean $60 million over per season for the next 4 years. I mean that's no other quarterback was more than 55, so he obviously got just about everything he wanted. Obviously a boatload of guarantees to go with it, and so. I think it's smart to remove the distraction, but it does lend itself to kind of what Dak said a couple of weeks ago. Like, you just can't put a lot of weight into what Jerry says in the media. I'm sure he's saying different things behind the scenes, but what he says in the media, you really can't put a lot of weight in it. And the other part of that is look at with the CD deal a few weeks ago and now with this Dak one. When they started getting done is when Jerry started being like, I don't want to talk about it. Like he shut down the CD stuff. I remember it was after that last preseason game at AT&T Stadium against the Chargers. He wanted no part of talking about CD. 2 days later, CD's done. This last few days, he's been the same way about the Dak contract. This morning, the Dak deal gets done. And so he really kind of showed his hand that like when he stops talking about a contract, that's because, or a decision that's because he's kind of made his mind up that, something's probably getting worked on.
Well, and I have less of the three guys that we talk about always getting paid, Dak, CD, and then Micah next year, right?
Yep.
I have less questions about Dak and CD than I do about Micah, even though Micah might be the most talented of all of them and can maybe, we always say wreck a game or whatever. CD can take over a game. Like I think CD is, if top five, clearly, best and impactful offensive players, not counting quarterbacks, clearly. Outside of Tyreek Hill, I mean, CeeDee Lamb's not far off. And you saw that second drive when they needed something. CeeDee Lamb kind of took that drive over, even though Brandon Cooks gets the touchdown at the end. And that's good. So when the Cowboys, you're going to hear now, like, oh, we got to pay for everyone. Like, that's the next thing. And that's next year. I won't get too far ahead. But it's like, no, these are good players. And you pay elite level players and you keep them on your team, so they don't go play for someone else.
And here's the thing. The only thing that has been missing for Micah Parsons is the putting up the big numbers, playing the way he did today in January, late December. The production is tailed off. And so if he's able to do that, then obviously he's going to be able to name his price regardless. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Year, whatever. But there's also part of me that thinks even if he just keeps doing what he's done the last 3 years, where he's just in the conversation, he's getting that money anyway, because he's the next defensive player up, that he will be the highest paid defensive player. And so because of that, and what we've seen from Jerry with Dak and Jerry with CD, I think you should just assume that this deal is getting done with Micah whenever it comes down to it. Like, he's not going to let him leave, And so, I think next offseason, maybe it'll be where Micah doesn't go to OTAs or mini camp or training camp or something. There'll be some deadline of where they're like, no, we need to get this done. We need to get this done. But if you're a Cowboys fan, the Cowboys have shown you no reason to think that Micah Parsons won't be with this team for the long term. I mean, that just with the CD deal, with the Dak deal, all they did is continue to show you when they really want a player, they don't let them leave.
No, and that's where it kind of comes down to, like, all this stuff. Dak saying, doesn't listen to what Jerry says in the media. I think if people that's not that different, like, than the way some of these things have gone in the past. Like, it's I don't know. I can't explain. And honestly, I don't even know that Jerry would explain or could tell you, and you understand what he's saying, why these things get drawn out and why this had to happen Sunday morning. Like it's crazy to me, but it's what they do, and you just accept it. And honestly, I'm glad it's over because I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Hey, you saying that, you sound exactly like Dak did at the podium. He's like, that's one of the best parts about it, is that I won't have to answer questions about it. I like talking to you guys, but I'm kind of done. I'm kind of glad that this is behind me or whatever. But I think we all would gladly take questions. You could ask me every single day about my contract if you're going to pay me $60 million a year. Like, gladly, you come knock on my door or do whatever for $60 million a year. Well, I'll answer all the questions you want. But it's kind of funny thinking about that now. When you were talking about it, made me think Jerry was probably pissed off that Tyreek Hill got pulled over because he probably had it all set up. He's like, oh yeah, this is going to be the big news break, the first Sunday of the NFL season. Let's get this done. Let's not leak this out. Let's make sure it's a big thing. And then they're just like, Tyreek Hill just got detained right in front of the stadium. This is kind of the biggest news right now. And he's probably like, damn it. I thought we were going to, all right, just put it out there. Let's just get this done. Forget it.
Yeah. And it's like, these things are very strange because people just start thinking about these things like next year. It's like, well, let's talk about this season. Like, yeah, I don't know what percentage of Cowboys fans like are happy this deal got done. I truly don't know. And that's a
good question. That is a good question.
I think with CeeDee Lamb, I think it's like, no, you keep CeeDee Lamb.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
I think it'll be you keep it. I think weirdly it's more polarizing.
I think that's a good question. Yeah, I saw a lot of mixed reaction. A lot of glad we signed him, and also a lot of, I guess we're going to be mediocre for the next 4 years. Talk, I'm just looking at comments on social media.
Okay, with that in mind, Ken. All right, I'll go first, and then we'll go around. We'll do Dak and CD. I think with Dak, I would say it's probably 65% of the fan base, 65 to 70% of the fan base is happy and know that, hey, even though he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet, this is the right move to make. This is the right smart business, football decision to make. And then I think that there's probably 30% that are like, no, it was time to move on. We have to do something else. With CD, I think it's probably 97% are like, no, you pay CD and move on with it. Would you guys agree or disagree?
That's a good number. Maybe less.
Maybe 50-50.
Really?
Yeah.
This is what I battle with.
I think the fans are less in on Dak than you think.
Okay, but this is what I battle with that though, Kent, is and this goes beyond sports. This is a social media thing for me. And I'm not saying you're only getting this from social media, but I always wonder, like, is that vocal part, does it really take as much of the majority? And the reason I say is because if you're angry, you're more likely to sound off. Then there's going to be a lot of people that are probably like, just get it done. It's fine. But at the same time, you're not going to sit there and be telling everybody. It's almost like voting, like an election where, there's a lot of people that want to put the sign in their driveway and all that stuff. But there's a lot of people that they're not telling anybody. And then they go and they go to the polls and they vote. And then they kind of keep it to themselves, maybe tell some family members. I just wonder if we're hearing from like just a loud minority that makes it seem like that minority is bigger than it is. But you could be right. Maybe it is 50-50.
I think there's enough sensible Cowboys fans to know that even flirting with not having a quarterback, it's like, is not smart. I think here's the good. I think where this specific deal goes. I think what our guy Andrew's saying here, though, like, why not wait until the end of the year? What difference does it make if you're going to give him that much and pretty much all of it guaranteed? Like, why does it matter? Like, and I think the San Francisco negotiation with Brock Purdy will be fascinating once they go down, because they may go, we don't need this guy.
I do think it keeps going up though. Like, I think if they would have got it done, let's say like 6 months ago or something, I bet it's at 55, 57. No, it's at 60. If they wait till the end of the year, maybe it's 65, 68, something like that, So I do think some of the other stuff factors in a little bit, that I don't think it would be exactly 60 if they wait till the end of the year, just because, like you mentioned, Purdy and some other things that'll happen. I do think it would go. I just think the quicker you can get it done, the more it makes sense. The only reason with this one, I thought it might be a little bit different is because I really thought Jerry was willing to play some some poker. And I thought he was really willing to risk the possibility of moving on at quarterback. And I think maybe he was for a little bit, but whether it was himself or other people around him talked him into like, this isn't a smart decision, man. Look at, I wouldn't be surprised if other teams were brought up to him. Like, man, you really want to go and do what the Steelers are doing? Like, look what the Steelers, and I'm not just talking about like this year's Steelers. I'm talking since, Big Ben was there. Like they've been the Kenny Pickett into Russell and the Fields, like, and I like using them as an example because I think of them as pretty much year in and year out, like the Packers, like the Ravens, really a lot like the Chiefs and the 49ers. Like they were like, it's pretty much consensus. They're one of the best run teams in the league. And because of that, I bet you people were like, hey, we got to get this done. This is too risky to go in another direction.
It ended up not being like an ACL and out for the year thing for Jordan Love. But Friday night, even when that happened, I went, there's another reason why you just pay Dak. Because, and I don't think the Packers are the best team in the NFC or anything like that. But it's just like, again, there goes another one team right there that's out of it, even though it turns out he's fine and they're in it probably. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, there's not that many compared to the AFC, which is just a full on gauntlet. And, it's just interesting.
Here's the other part. We'll use the Steelers analogy real quick. Like we've talked about before, and I know that you've brought it up plenty of times, KT, where you talk about the whole, like, man, the NFC is so wide open at quarterback compared to the AFC. Like at quarterback, you're like, it's all there. So just imagine like the Steelers moving on from Big Ben. He doesn't retire. He's still in his prime. And not only can you not find your quarterback? He's at one of your rivals and he's winning. And you got to deal with that for 7-8 years, because it's a 31-year-old Big Ben or something like that. He's going to play another 6-7 years. So not only are you kind of in the wilderness at quarterback, your guy is also playing pretty well for another team. And so there's always a chance that your guy goes to another team and his best years were with you and they're overpaying him and whatever. But I'm saying that I just think that when the risk is factored in, and obviously being a successful businessman like Jerry is, I think that right after the Green Bay game and even for several months, I think that he was so pissed off with the way that the season ended that he was like, F it, I'm not paying anybody. But I think every day that went by, the further you get away from the Green Bay game, the closer you get to the new season, everybody's excited. Heck, I can just tell you walking around here 4.5 hours before the game, man, it was banging out in these parking lots, man. It was crazy. You would think that the Browns just went to the Super Bowl, man. It was, and now I will say it's also really nice weather out for, this time of year. It's the season opener, a lot of Cowboys fans, all that. But it was hype outside of this place, and week one in the NFL, there's a lot of hype behind it. And I think that as the days went on, the closer the season got, the more and more Jerry was like, let's get this done. This is the smart business move.
There's a lot of this game kind of had felt like a preseason type thing as the game got going and the Cowboys ran away with it a little bit. There's some things from the game that we will cover on Tuesday. We got a big week for you. So on Tuesday, we'll record an episode. We'll have Sod back in the mix. We'll cover everything that we need to cover, see if there's any updates and things like that. We also need to discuss the halftime show news as well. As that dropped on us this morning as well, along with the Dak contract and Tyreek Hill getting arrested and everything else. So we got halftime news that we'll handle. And then Wednesday morning, we are going to have another episode that we're recording, and we'll have our special guest from the Scoop City podcast around The Athletic, Diana Rossini, will be joining us as well. And we will also be ready for the New Orleans Saints, who also played in a preseason game today as they beat the Panthers 47-10. But we'll get you ready for our week 2 opponent as well. So a lot of stuff coming later in the week on the One Star Cowboys podcast. But for now, live from Cleveland and Huntington Bank Field, it is Jon Machota. Make sure you're following him, his post-game coverage. Check that out over on The Athletic. We have Kent Garrison here. Follow Sod as well. And we'll be back, the whole full crew, all 4 of us, on the One Star Cowboys podcast with our next episode a little bit later in the week. And we'll have multiple episodes as these weeks go on. So there you go. Cowboys win 33-17. 1-0. Dak's deal gets done. It's a party atmosphere. It'll be a party plane back home for you tomorrow, John. And then we will catch up with you later in the week on the One Star Cowboys podcast. Take care, everybody.
At the One Star postgame, it's a whole lot of fun with jokes and recaps once the match is done. From the field to the office. breakfast. We're ready to go on the One Star Post Game Show.
For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnnywalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.